Saludos, cine&mas. No se lo pierdan, Bonie&Clyde on the History Channel.
I didn't like the character of Bonnie that was portrayed in the script because she can be quite selfish and manipulative and is quite single-minded in her ambitious drive for fame. But she's quite complex. I mean, as I started research into the real Bonnie, I read her letters and her diaries and her poetry, and I felt like I was discovering a more vulnerable side to her that was almost this lost little girl that just needed to be liked by people. But she was such an incredibly strong woman, and I think she resonates today because of that ambition that she has, and also because of her drive for fame. I think you can almost call her the original reality TV star. You know, she didn't achieve her ambitions to be up there as an actress on the silver screen, but what she did do, she made it onto the silver screen in the newsreel footage that charted. It's almost like a soap story, the real life story of Bonnie&Clyde's lives. That she created fame for herself, and that. I love doing period dramas. I've not set out just to do period dramas, but I think that there seems to be a breadth of strong women in period dramas and complex women that I quite enjoy playing. But there's also an element, I think all actors get addicted to acting because of the escapism of it, and when you're putting yourself into a completely different period as well, there's that element of escapism, and also a breadth of research that you can do, which I think is part of the fun of creating a character. And as for the 1960s movie, I'd watched that when I was younger, and I think it's brilliant. But I think it was important to kind of detach yourself as an actor from that, because otherwise there's a worry that you'd start trying to emulate Faye Dunaway in that, or even try and break away from it. And really, our miniseries was the character with Bonnie, I think, is quite different, and so I just tried to stay true to the script we had. Terrified. I'd never been so scared to start a job because I hadn't met anyone. I'd put myself on tape, and I'd only met Bruce over Skype. I hadn't had a proper audition, and I'd never played an American before. So as soon as I got the role, I dived headlong into Bonnie&Clyde research. I read quite a few biographies and watched some BBC documentaries, and read Bonnie's letters, and tried to watch the movies that she mentions in her diaries, or at least extracts from them, and downloaded a playlist of songs that Bonnie then mentioned in her diaries and letters, and also, of course, the accent. I watched a lot of Sissy Spacek movies because she's from Texas, and she plays a lot more period characters, so I wanted to kind of stay true to that accent at the time, and had a voice coach. And I think that the most terrifying aspect for me actually was, I enjoyed the guns and I enjoyed the accent once I got into it. The most terrifying aspect was having to emulate a panic attack, actually, because there's only so much you can. I spoke to a doctor and spoke to friends that have panic attacks, but you can't really know what you look like unless you film yourself doing it. I can't really do that, actually. So like an idiot. But also I really enjoyed the learning to dance, but there's a section of flashbacks when Bonnie has to do a ballet dance on point shoes, and I'd never really done a dance in point shoes since I was 14, and then it was only really briefly, and I think it was the only time I said I was actually scared. Running around with guns was fine, it was being on point shoes on this tiny little stage. I thought for me was in the preparation and overcoming my nerves. I was just very nervous about the accent to begin with, but my first few days on set were with Holly Hunter, and she was just an absolute dream to work with, because we rehearsed a little bit by ourselves beforehand, and she stayed in the accent with me all day, and she was always giving me positive feedback. She knew what I wanted to do with the scenes, and she's always giving me positive feedback to ensure that I was kind of going in the direction I wanted to. And after that couple of days with her, my nerves were put to rest, and I just enjoyed the rest of it, actually. It didn't, once we got into the flow of it, it just became a lot more fun than difficult, and actually it was one of the only jobs that I've done that I didn't look forward to the weekend ever. I didn't want the weekend. I wanted to be set all the time because it was such a fun. So I think the only kind of physical training I went through was we had to learn to learn to shoot the guns, which consisted of just an hour in a field practicing shooting them and going woo, but also had to learn period dancing at the time, which is really fun. I danced when I was younger, so that was kind of one of the most enjoyable aspects of the job. And you know, it was kind of a guy-heavy show, so we all spent a lot of time together, and all the guys would go and work out at the gym at the weekend. So you know, I'd always go and join them and have running competitions with a meal on the jogging machine to see who could run the longest. I'm not quite sure what my next project for this year is going to be, but I have a film called Posh coming out later in the year, which is a British independent film which is based on a play by Laura Wade, which is about 10 young men at Oxford who are part of the Riot Club, which is a club that it's almost like a fraternity, a university fraternity that involves a lot of aristocratic young men having a ball before they go off and start running the country, and maybe not thinking about the consequences of their actions in the process. And I play a character called Lauren, who's written just for the film. Who's a contemporary northern girl, and probably the closest character to me that I've played in quite a while.